Said that Washington, D.C. was built on a swamp. So how does a president who's vowed over and over and over again to drain it do it? In a recent tweet, Trump stressed the need to fight the Freedom Caucus before it hurts the GOP agenda. Freedom Caucus member Justin Amash quickly responded with, well, it didn't take long for the swamp to drain President Trump. Is Amash right? Does Washington always win in the end? Can the establishment swamp monster of D.C. ever be slayed? President Reagan tried it in 1984, but even he failed. And instead, the establishment grew, entrenching its tangled web of special interest and lobbyists up and down K Street to its present-day behemoth. The question now is, on which side is the president and Paul Ryan? And if picking a fight with the Freedom Caucus is the best way to destroy the swamp monster, or does that lend a helping hand to Democrats who wish to see it grow bigger and more out of control, taking us all right down with it? Bill Tucker, Newsmax, New York. Be sure to follow us on Newsmax.com, Newsmax TV, and social media.
And welcome back to America Talks Live. You just heard Newsmax TV's Bill Tucker exploring the notion of draining the swamp. So how is Donald Trump progressing on that pledge? Let's ask the members of today's political panel what grade they would give the president. Joining us now via Skype from Nashville, we have the creator of the Tea Party Nation, Judson Phillips. Also with us via Skype from Arizona, the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Politistic, Jennifer Burke. Thank you for joining us today. Pleasure to have both of you. So, Jennifer, if you could assign the president a grade in this particular area, what would you give him right now, and what areas would you say he still needs improvement?
If I could give him a grade as far as him bringing the party together and
draining the swamp, specifically draining the swamp.
If I could give him a grade on draining the swamp, I would probably give him a D+, just because I think him turning on the House Freedom Caucus, his social media director calling for a primary of Justin Amash, and the fact that members of the House Freedom Caucus were backing him when Paul Ryan were kicking him to the curb, I think that's fresh in people's minds. And a lot of the grassroots simply do not like it. And
what area would you say he needs improvement?
I think he needs improvement in understanding exactly who his allies are. You can't, when you're the Republican president, and you won by going against the Democrat agenda, you can't look like you're going to kick conservatives to the curb and say, well, I'll just go over here and work with the Democrats. He's got to understand who his allies are, who want him to succeed and who want him to fail.
Judson, I want you to weigh in now. What grade would you give the president, and what areas would you say he stands some improvement?
I'd probably be a shade more generous than my good friend Jennifer, and probably give him a C right now. But Jennifer absolutely nails it when she talks about him, President Trump, going after the Freedom Caucus. This is his base, and if he wants to win in 2020, if he wants to be a successful president, he cannot go after his base. You know, it's interesting, there were as many moderates, or maybe even more moderates, that were jumping off of Paul Ryan's bill, the Ryan Care bill, yet who's everybody going after? It's the conservatives. And again, if President Trump wants to be successful, got to remember who brung him to the dance, because it wasn't Paul Ryan.
Yeah, well, there were a number of conservatives that did vote for Trump, and they did so because they were concerned about the Supreme Court, which, speaking of which, today's kind of a big day. That is Neil Gorsuch. He's going to be meeting with the Senate committee there to talk about confirmation. And conservatives got some good news because another Democrat has jumped on board. That is Democratic Senator Joe Donnelly. Announced yesterday that he'll support Gorsuch. That's a decision making him the third, again, senator to break away from his party to do so. He actually sent out a statement saying, after meeting with the judge, conducting a thorough review of his record and closely following his hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, I believe that he is a qualified jurist, who will base his decisions on his understanding of the law and is well respected among his peers. Jennifer, will Republicans be able now to get 5 more, that's what they need, 5 more Democrats to confirm Gorsuch?
You know, I think they stand a good chance of getting 5 more Democrats. I mean, the fact that you have 3 that have broken away from the the strong arm hold of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the threats they usually give their members to vote the way they want them to, I think is a very good sign. Judge Gorsuch is immensely more qualified than Sonia Sotomayor or Elena Kagan were. And the fact that you have this Democrat saying, I believe he will apply the law, versus Kamala Harris from California saying, I'm concerned that he will go by the law and not by looking at people. She wants him to ignore the law. I think the more Democrats look at those two very different statements, the more they realize they really need to be on the side of the three that are voting for Gorsuch.
Well, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says Judge Gorsuch will be confirmed. He's been saying that all along, despite Chuck Schumer's efforts to halt it.
He'll ultimately be confirmed. Exactly how that happens, Chris, will be up to our Democratic colleagues. I think it is noteworthy that no Supreme Court justice has ever, in the history of our country, been stopped by a partisan filibuster, ever.
So, as you know, that's something that Chuck Schumer has been threatening to do. Judson, while McConnell hasn't actually said this, he's been asked about the nuclear option, but by saying that ultimately Gorsuch will be confirmed, is he not in a way saying that, yes, I will use it if necessary?
Oh, absolutely. And, this is one thing, this is one item in the Trump agenda that cannot be defeated, particularly by the filibuster. And I personally hope that McConnell will go ahead and just nuke the filibuster altogether. Filibuster is not in the Constitution. It's an old Senate rule. And a friend of mine the other day proposed a great idea. Prior to 1974, if you were a United States senator and you wanted to filibuster somebody, you got on the floor and you talked until you couldn't talk anymore. And now they just have this, you put a hold on whatever the proceedings are. Let's go back to that, or let's abolish the filibuster altogether. But either way, McConnell's right. Judge Gorsuch is soon to be Justice Gorsuch by the end of this week.
Jennifer, let me ask you, if the Democrats do in fact filibuster, which, they say they're going to do, to fight this confirmation, could that in any way backfire on them?
I think it could backfire. I think Democrats, for some reason, they think that America chose their agenda and their vision of the future of this country, and America didn't. They want to focus on Hillary Clinton won the popular vote because California kept tallying their votes. These antics that they are pulling just sends a message to Midwestern America, to Middle America, anybody that's not in the coastal states, that Democrats don't really care what you think, what you want, how you voted at all. They just want to push forward their view of America, despite the fact that it was rejected by the majority of states.
In the only 20 seconds that we have remaining, Judson, do you think that McConnell will have to use a nuclear option, or do you think he'll be able to get those other Dems to hop on board?
I think he's going to have to use the nuclear option, and I hope he does. And I hope it's something that they shove down the throat of the Democrats who are running in 2018, running in states that President Trump carried in 2016. I think they ought to be, the Democrats ought to be made to run on their records for a change, and hopefully that's what's going to happen.
All right, Jennifer Burke, Judson Phillips, stick